Okay, this is a way to mobilize the occiput on C1. There's both a seated variation and a supine variation of this. This is obviously the seated variation. For this, you are going to be working on the same side that you're standing on. So if I'm standing over my patient's left-hand side, I'm working on the left OA joint, so the occiput on the atlas. For this, you're going to straddle your patient's leg, so just make sure that their arm is kind of away from you, whether it's, they have their arms crossed on their lap, or sometimes I'll just ask them to kind of drop their arm off to their side. I'm going to stand right over my patient. I'm going to grab on to their head, almost like a football. So you're going to have their forehead into your deltopectoral region. As a female, make sure it's closer to the shoulder, really, and then you also might have to use either the opposite variation or put a folded up pillowcase over your chest. I'm going to hold on to their head. Opposite hand, you're either going to use your second MCP joint, or you can use your fifth, whatever is more comfortable for you. This mobilization can be a little bit hard on your body. For this mob, I'm going to find their occiput, fall immediately off of it into the soft spot. That soft spot is C1. I will there stabilize while I rotate my patient's head slightly and side bend slightly. And then I am just going to apply an equal and opposite pressure where I am pushing their head posteriorly and maybe into a little bit of flexion while I am adding a ventral force on C1. And they're going to feel a lot of pressure underneath your hand. This can work incredibly well for patients, obviously, that are limited in OA flexion, but for headache patients. And they'll frequently describe that they have symptoms right in this area or a tightness sensation in this area, but assess OA mobility, and then, if appropriate, mobilizing it in this fashion can work incredibly well. You will not be able to apply as much force in the seated variation as you will in the supine variation. So if they need more movement, you got to lie them on their back in order to get more movement. So I'm just using my second MCP, but I could also use my fifth and almost like karate chop them as you're doing this. And you can imagine this one can be a little bit more challenging on your body. But that is one way to improve dorsal glide of the OA joint.